Welcome back, and joining us on the show now is Sanjay Sacheti. He's country head India region at Olam Agro. Mr. Sacheti, hi, thank you so much for joining in. First of all, the big number that we continue to see on the crop, if you look at the government estimates for Kharif, have been much on the higher side. Rabi sowing is higher than last year as well. We are looking at a record rice numbers. Wheat is much higher as compared to last year as well. My first question to you is, how are you looking at overall production within India, acreage versus yields here?
So, Manisha, I think it has been a problem of plenty, which we are staring at. We have had very good precipitation. Reservoir levels have been pretty good. So, Kharif as well as Rabi both are looking very good. Kharif, though, we had some sporadic, crop losses because of because of a spatial distribution of rainfall. But if you look at Rabi, I think the kind of reservoir levels which we are experiencing right now, they are wonderful. They augur very well for the forthcoming Rabi crop. And we expect all the Rabi crops to be to fare very well. Obviously, this would lead to surpluses in almost all the commodities. And we'll have to figure out how do we manage that part, because the global markets are also bearish, and they are not looking for the extra grain of any commodity from India really in a big way.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing really is about higher production and the prices trading at or below MSP, and then we are importing cheaper imports as well, and the MSPs continue to increase every year. Would you say that there is some stronger structural policy change that needs to be done?
Well, agriculture is a very complex subject, and I'm just working on some recommendations for certain parts of the government right now on behalf of one of the chambers of commerce. And when we have looked at it, I think it requires a very comprehensive action plan. To give due credit to the government, I think the policy has been agile. Of course, but given the volatility which is there in the climate factors, in the global markets, as well as in the local markets, the government has a tough time, and they have to really navigate through multiple policy changes. Obviously, people can always say that policies are not consistent, but the environment itself is such that they really can't do much about it. They have to respond. So that brings us back to what needs to fundamentally change. And I think it is about making agriculture at the farm level as strong as possible. How do you make farmers stronger, either through collectivization or through last mile delivery of advisory services, or through market linkages? And not to forget, how do you introduce frontier technologies at the farm level? So there are multiple issues which need to be taken care of. But in the immediate short term, what we need to do is to give farmers as much support as possible. Public procurement has to keep pace. Obviously, the crop diversification is something which we have to look at. So while I am a proponent of public procurement to give support in the short term or early medium term, but how do we engineer a crop diversification beyond rice and wheat? Not so much wheat, but primarily rice is something which we need to think about.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing really is about the global trades, Mr. Sacheti, because even as we've seen tariffs and those concerns continue to be in the market, the geopolitics continues in its own way as well. But even with that, would you say that the global producing nations have done a good job in sense of stronger numbers when it comes to farm there? And that's exactly the reason we haven't seen food inflation, not just in India, but in other parts of the world as well. But do you see that continuing in 2026?
Well, the 25 has been very volatile from a government policy point of view. And I would say, while there has been good availability and there are global surpluses, but the destabilization of the global trade and the uncertainty surrounding it has led to broken supply chains. And, most nations have been forced to reorient how they do, how they procure for their requirements. So this has led to some kind of impact on the prices. And I would say that a part of the food inflation is also on account of this uncertainty. going forward, given how US and China, the two large nations, have started, coming down in terms of aggressive measures which they had taken earlier, I think things should settle down as we move into 2026, and food inflation should start coming down in most countries. In India, we have already seen this coming down, and that's a confluence of various factors. Locally, we have had good monsoon and good crops, and globally, our major commodities which we are importing, pulses and oilseeds, largely pulses, have seen deflationary trends. Globally, I think as these tariff measures get rationalized, the way US and China have done in the last 3-4 weeks, I would expect that food inflation would definitely get diluted as we move along.
Okay, food inflation will get diluted as we move forward as well. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, as well as thank you so much, Manisha, for taking us through that conversation as well. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll focus on walk hard, which is buzzing in trade. So stay tuned for that conversation.